Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACTN. It's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9, where we bring you something that's interesting and relevant in sports in Trinidad and Tobago. On tonight's show, we're going to be discussing the sport of rugby, and rugby is one of the sports definitely has been growing by leaps and bounds. And a number of our national, both seniors and junior teams have gone abroad and did pretty well in tournaments. And on tonight's program, you're going to get a detail of the achievements and the projections and what's in store for rugby in 2018. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you my co-host for tonight, Maria. Maria, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the set.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And our guest for tonight, we have Wayne Pantor, the Technical Director of the Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Football Union. Wayne, it's a pleasure. Welcome to ACTN. And we have Rudolph Jack, a man of many hats in this sports and culture. One of the guys who I think is doing a tremendous job with the young people in the community of Maribela. Rudolph, it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here too.
And we have Colin Peters, the Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Football Union. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
And we are going to be discussing the sport of rugby, and we're going to let the public know exactly the achievements, the projections, and everything about rugby. But let's start first of all with a review on 2017, the season that went by.
Well, basically for the 2017 season, we would have had three pockets that we worked with. Would have been under 19s, women and men. With the men started their campaign first with the regional tournament, which is known as the RAN 15-a-side Championship, which is divided into North and South. On the southern part would have been teams like Barbados, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago. We placed second to Guyana in that southern division, and overall, which would have the North teams like Jamaica, USA, Cayman Island. When they add both teams together, the overall placing would have been fourth for the men's 15s for 2017. For the women, we went on to Miami to play in the RAN Female Version Championship, which was a 10-a-side format, where we were victorious as being the champion of that division. The under-19s also played in Miami, where they placed third overall, coming behind USA and Mexico. What I would say in the sense of development, in each of the division, we have the potential to always be on the podium. One of our main challenges is basically recruiting fresh blood, as we would say, up into the senior division. So there's where we have a little deficiency. In the projection for 2018, you can say basically that we have the ingredients to actually be on the podium again for the 2018 season.
Okay.
Right. For people who are not really aware that rugby is as prominent as it is in Trinidad and Tobago, can you provide some history, some background on the TTRFU that can sort of give a background for what we've done this year?
Okay. Rugby has been played in Trinidad and Tobago since 1923, and so we're celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2023. We have a team in place to develop and provide right. One of the big things, Mr. Ross Furness is one of the people on the committee, and he was talking about bringing an England team. So if we can't get England A, we get B, we could get a C, right? Because of the growth of the sport over the years, we think that this could be pulled off. Rugby in Trinidad and Tobago has developed tremendously, right? And we have won numerous regional championships. Right? Guyana has kind of leapfrogged us because they get more funding and they have more players, playing on the outside, so that we need to redevelop our game and get our funding. Because of the financial situation in the country, you find that we have problems with that. But the guys are still committed, the girls are still committed. As we see, the women won the Rugby America's North 10 tie tournament. The under-19s are still in the top 3 in the region, including America, USA. Right? So there is still hope and there is still potential here. And with Mr. Panto and Mr. Jack, Mr. Panto is the technical advisor. Mr. Jack is at the forefront of youth development in Trinidad and Tobago. He has been reaching all corners. We know that with that kind of commitment and thing, we sure that in the next 2 years we'll be right back to the helm of Caribbean and regional rugby. So we're not worried about that.
Okay, if I throw a question to Mr. Jack, who is the under-19 manager, the senior men's sevens assistant manager, and youth development officer, tell us about your role and how difficult it is now going out there to recruit young blood, as Mr. Panto also said earlier in his comments.
Well, for some reason I choose to target the rural communities and target the sort of communities which they deem homes as social unrest. So it's sort of difficult because when you go into these communities and most of the youths are unemployed, and you can't look forward to ask them to find passage, find a dogs, or provide their own refreshment. So, as Mr. Cullen indicated, finances are a key factor. And for over the years I did it, I was doing it, and we lose 3 sponsors due to economy in 16. So, while I'm optimistic and enthusiastic about what I'm doing, I still am hoping that God, which He always delivers, will put some a way out so we could continue with the plight, because we touch over the last 3 years, we touch over 5 new community, and my problem is to sustain them there because due to the economical downturn. So that is my challenges in a nutshell.
But would you all sit here and agree if I ask or mention that is rugby a growing? Are you all seeing growth in the sport of rugby?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would like to answer this. In the sense the development of where the sport came from, to where it's at now, I would say yes, there's definitely a growth on the island with the sport. And I'll draw in reference to basically rugby being a north of the island sport, centralized into Port of Spain, and most of the teams just on the perimeter of Port of Spain. The only 2 teams basically outside of that perimeter would be 2 southern teams, Exiles and Rainbows. And the youth development program that is being put into place now actually spreads the game into different regions. So like as far as Sandy Grande, Guayagari, Point Fortin, Central, and this southern area. So the goal by 2020 is that in each of those pockets there's an internal league in that particular area targeting just youths. So with that being said, with 6 new teams in each of those particular divisions, would show influx of approximately 150 new players into the league every 2 years.
Do you think the sport is being marketed in such a way that it's attracting the support of Trinidad and Tobago, in sense of not the financial support I'm talking about, but I say crowd support?
Right, so again in the development plan, right, but again I would like to interject this into the discussion is that we are presently redoing our strategic plan, which would have persons dealing particularly with marketing and advertisement and so on. As it is presently.
So that was not there before?
It was not there before. Or at least it was there on a voluntary basis. So the point that when somebody get the opportunity to do it, they venture out.
Okay.
But the only way, realistically, the sport is being advertised to the normal common folk on the ground is when it is Mr. Rudolph Jack and the other YDOs go out into the community and deliver the youth program. Other than that, somebody would always gravitate to the mind that rugby is like American football and it's only played in the north and it's played by the elite and the like say the rich and famous on the island in comparison to the normal ground person. But the reality of it is that, like say for instance, between the national teams, right? The majority, or let's say 75% of those teams are made up of citizens spanning throughout the island.
Okay.
Right, and as a certain sense of advertisement, as Mr. Jack indicated before, finance is the big major issue of it. Right, we can do so much on the ground without that financial support, but with the financial support, we could afford to put up billboards, run ads on the television and so on, just like the first world countries.
So when we talk about the growth and take that to a national level, I know that there's the under-19s or the youth women's team that participated in the Commonwealth Youth Games this year. Would you like to comment on that, Mr. Jack?
Yeah, well, it's for the first time Trinidad and Tobago send a youth team in that level, because just some years we started the development program through with the rural communities we doing, and it's the first time Trinidad feel a team so young in that height of level, because we was up against Fiji, Canada, Wales, Bermuda, and Australia, and they are the giants of rugby, and for the first time, and the development program was 4 or 5 years ahead of ours when we put together a team in 4 months. So we came 5th in that tournament for the first time, and we couldn't afford to have a pre-warm-up tournament because due to funding again, so that set us back. But I have full confidence that we could, out of this youth team, we will have at least half of the girls from that tournament, which could filter into the national team to take it to the another level. So
you mentioned that this team was prepared in only 4 months. Yeah. Was there previously a national youth women's team, or is this something that was developed just this year, this past year? Well, it have a school youth female program, and the national body didn't have a women league, youth women league. So it's the first this is the first year we played. Last year was the first year we played a national under 18 female league, which we was very much pleased and impressed. And it's the first time we went to the under 18 teams, and we was due to go to the Olympic qualifier this month, and we had to play the first and the second, and due to funding we were unable to send them to that tournament to continue the quest. Nevertheless, we hope to continue in some rural areas and accumulate some more players, and with the YDO new program is to train them from, look for at least from 11 to 15 to groom them. So by 2020 we will have a team to filter into the under 18 girls, and those who not eligible again for the under 18 will filter into the female senior team. So the women's pathway is then from the schools and the schools union, the work that's being done by the YDOs, into that junior team, which would then go into the senior national team.
Yeah.
I know that there was mention of development in the men's as well, where Mr. Panter, you were indicating that you're looking to retain players as they go onto the senior team. Is there any developments for extra teams being added in that can filter?
Well, the process for that now, the process was there in black and white, but because of the limited resources, as coaches and so on, we wasn't able to implement it. For 2018 to 2020, we have something called the player pathway, where players coming through the national program from under 18 will be eligible to be part of the under 23 academy. The academy is designed to basically correct or develop any misplay or style that that player may have, so they have a better representation at the senior level. So it's not about really being able to say that you make the under 23 team as per se, but going through the academy will fine-tune you to be a better player for your club and also at the national level. The issue also, again, with the under 23s is that there's also no direct pathway between the under 19s to the senior team. So the under 23 is designed to be the gap between that transition. Also in 2019, we look to have at least 20 female players, just as Mr. Jack spoke about, from the under 40, from that age group of 11 to 15, be included into the camp also. So it's not only to say it is male gender, it will be both female and males going through the academy pathway to go on to the next level. And again, these are some of the systems that the first world countries have in place and is working successful for them with limited resources. And because of the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, that is the way we need to go to get those players to be of an international standard, rather than really saying, putting 200,000 on a program and not getting the quality of the player that you need for the program. One thing I'd like to just interject though, we talk about funding and so on, but we must pay homage to the persons that assisted us along the way. So I'd like to say special mention for the sports company. The TTRFU, the Olympic Committee, also had a great part in us achieving some of the accomplishments for 2017.
Okay, I know that we have to take a break, but when we get back, I want Mr. Peters to answer what are some of the issues that the rugby union face that you feel is maybe hindering you all from really going that one step further. Viewers, you are looking at Scoreboard here on ACTN, and we are talking rugby. We'll take a short break and return shortly. You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
All
the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua De Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately, hey, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh, what's that? Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to ACTN. Mr. Peters, we're hearing so much, not only for this year, for last year, or for years gone by, but one of the major problems we hear in sports is issues of lack of funding, lack of venues, different things that hinder sports from going that extra mile. What are some of the issues that the union face that you feel that if those issues are addressed, the sport of rugby could achieve much more than what you all have already achieved?
Let me start with the positive. We have 4 grounds in the Queen's Park Savannah. We have UE ground. We have a ground at Sandy Grande. We have Rainbow ground. And we have a ground by Exeter. Right? Those are some of the positives. We have, 9...
But are those grounds ideal for the sport of rugby?
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Because maintenance is a problem.
Right.
Right. So you find that in the early months of the year, you have problems that regard the ground is as hard as rock. Right. One of the things is that we don't have a home for rugby where we could maintain it, ensure that the grass is green, and that we can play rugby there 12 months a year.
Okay.
Right. So that's one of the hindrances about that. Everybody talk about financing. We have been fortunate in that we have been absorbed under the sports company of Trinidad and Tobago. Again, that is a positive because you get more attention. You have a rugby officer assigned to you, and well, I can't say you get preferential funding, but at least you're under the sport company where there are only 14 or 15 sports under the sport company, whereas we have about 50-something different sports in Trinidad and Tobago. So we're not crying. It could always be better, right? But the home for rugby is one of our main hindrances. 7 years now we're trying to get a home for rugby.
Have you all identified a location and things like that?
They told us to allocate one of the stadia.
It started off as Otterbold.
We know the story with that.
The home of football.
Right.
Well, that's what's supposed to be the home of rugby then.
Right, yeah.
7
We
years ago.
actually moved in our room there, and then they say, here, what happened? This is football. So we had to move forward. Football is the major sport beside cricket and Trinidad and Tobago. What people don't know is that beside the Football World Cup, the largest single sport event in the world is the Rugby World Cup. And so beside the Olympics, which is the greatest thing, and the Football World Cup, the next biggest single sport is the Rugby World Cup. So it's not like if we are a major sport. We probably need to do more with our marketing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There are challenges in the schools. I started to play rugby in 1974. And in 1974, there were more schools playing rugby than now. Right? Education is another problem. We need to educate the PE teachers, the teachers themselves, about rugby. Parents think that rugby is just a rough sport, and they don't want the children to play anything. But rugby is the per capita injury level in rugby is less than in football. So it's not a problem. So it's just, I suppose, it's an education thing. We need to educate the parents, educate the teachers. My teachers took me to South to play rugby. Right? That's how good it was then. But then we had Lou Barrow, who was part of the schools union in those days. And he was a teacher at Sour Government Sec. So he would have been pushing rugby. And the other teachers, they took us to South to play rugby. Now teachers are resisting, parents are resisting, and that kind of thing. So we probably need as an organization to do more education. Right? And I think that's some of the hindrances that we have.
So are there opportunities then to have, say, exhibition matches, have the national team come out and do workshops? You're saying, you're reminiscing about times when you could go on a field trip to see rugby. I think, as you're saying, a home for rugby is necessary. That could be somewhere where these events could take place and people could gather to watch, so that not only are you introducing rugby to more potential players, but also getting a fan base. Parents can come and see what's going on. And while we can educate in the schools, parents also need to be educated as to what really happens in rugby and what are the risks and what are the preventative measures that are taken.
And I've spoken, I'm an ex-police officer, and I spoke to police and defense force to keep the inter-service. We play a game every year, inter-service cup, outside of the national fixtures. And I've been telling them, you know, bring it to Edinburgh 500. Bring it to Arima Velodrome. You know, bring it to different areas so that people could see it. And we did that in the 80s. On a Sunday morning, we would get a bus, a police bus, and we pick up UE, Defense Force, Royalans, and police. And we would go, we played rugby in Rampanalgas. We played rugby in the resource center in Mayaro, somewhere down there. And you know, and this is the thing that we did. Unfortunately, the follow-up was not there. You know what, this is what we need to do. We need to take two teams and go out and meet the people. Walk, drive around and say, here what's happening. This Sunday, rugby is in your ground. You know? So as I say, the education. So people, as Maria said, people could come and say, well, wait now, it's not so bad after all. You know, maybe my son could get involved in that. As a matter of fact, the administration right now is involved in discussions with UE and UTT. We've had preliminary discussions with them. We had a program with UTT where national players attended UTT full-time. UTT actually had a 7-a-side team, and guys graduated with their degrees and are holding very nice jobs now. Some of them are still in the system, they're giving back, you know, and this is what we want. And UE has invited us, so we are going to meet with the administration in UE so we can develop our scholarship program also, so that, you know, there is something in there.
Yeah, to attract the
attention of the and of the guys and the girls, so that they would see that, hey, I'm not wasting my time saying I'm playing rugby. Just like we have football scholarships in the USA and that kind of thing. That is what we want that to develop here, right? Or redevelop, I should say, because as I said, we had it in UTT, right? So those are some of the things.
Well, I guess, Mr. Panto, all these things will be in your planning from 2018 and beyond?
Yes, it is. And again, as I'm saying, in the sense of this in the development process, we have a lot of ideas on the ground, or on the table, as we would say, right? But the challenge that we have with is implementation. And the reason the challenges will be in implementation is that before, the union would have been functioning without KPIs. So they would have had nice ideas and didn't have a deadline now. Well, we are expecting to achieve this at this point and this point. So again, in the development plan that I put forward to them, basically have KPIs and objectives to meet at certain points. So one of the major KPIs that we're dealing with for this quarter is really getting that youth development program off the ground where we spread the game regionally throughout the island. That'll be one. Presently, Mr. Jack is in discussion with the TTOC to sponsor a caravan, which will also deal more or less with the community base. So, the youth development caravan one would be dealing with schools, and Mr. Jack will be dealing with the community aspect of it. So that'll be the spread of the game. And the limelight of that is that we're trying to also develop a marketing team to do with the actual marketing of those things to those communities. So before we go into the community, it won't be like a bomb rush in the communities. They will have certain things happening in the community before. One of the other things we're doing with the program also, just as Mr. Jack talked about social issues, we are partnering with Ministry of Gender Affairs, the Youth Development Center, YTC, and so on, to develop a program where we have young individuals visiting the center to see, well, if it is you go wrong, this is where you could end up, this is the pathway if you choose this way. And then we also have UTT doing school seminars where they come and they do like a workshop showing different courses they have to offer and whatever. So that is the partnering with the scholarship aspect of it. Also with the under-19 program, the 3 years that we went abroad and played, we'd have scouts coming to those games and actually scouting the kids to attend universities in the United States of America also. So there is actually a pathway there for them.
I know YTC, you know, I don't know how strong it is now, but I know some years back they were very much active.
Indeed.
I think it was under Carl Market.
Yeah.
And that rugby program up there was, you know, of a high standard. But something I want to mention here, the senior men's 15, they are ranked 53rd in the world.
Yes.
And the senior women's 10, they are ranked 22nd in the world. Now, that has to be a major achievement when you're dealing with a ranking, right? Because to be 22nd in the world, right, and I think nearly all the countries in the world play rugby.
It's 120 teams.
120, and you are 22nd and 53rd. That is an achievement by itself. But how much of Trinidad and Tobago is aware of this?
Well, again, as I was saying,
because I would think that this team has to be the highest ranked team sport for Trinidad and Tobago, because I think football is way, you know, they won 99 recently.
Well, again, in the sense, the ranking is all, as I talked about the black and white. On the black and white, we have, let's say, culture. Right, but in the reality of it is that the average person on the street, or the average Joe on the street, wouldn't really know anything about rugby and wouldn't be interested in the stats. So I'll give an example. Like say, for instance, we were to qualify for the Rugby World Cup, right? The advertisement behind that and the sponsors coming towards you to advertise that, now then the public will automatically buy into it, right? So, like say for instance, we talked about the home of rugby, and I'm just saying hypothetically, if we had Madi Ramjan as the home of rugby, right? All the signage and the banner around that would have those information on it. So even somebody passing on the outside of the stadium would basically get those information from it. They may have a football game taking place in the stadium, but when they walk into the stadium, they see the Rugby Hall of Fame and they're seeing all the information there. So it's a subliminal way of getting the message across.
So you all do have an office?
Well, we have an office that we function out in Port of Spain. But in reality is that is just to do internal issues. But to say the average Joe from the street walking into the office, it is impractical. And I just wonder, just even add on to it too. You see, like when I watch the history of the clubs, right? So like for South, I would say Exiles and Rainbows are two of the most prominent South clubs, right? And if you check in the landscape of the game, it's two different style of play in comparison to where you would meet into Port of Spain. So like even like when we go into the 7-a-side version of the game, it's basically like saying if you're going to put it on the world stage, it's like New Zealand versus Fiji, right? So these two New Zealand and Fiji local teams going across to play the Englands and the Wales and wherever. And it's be a natural challenge to see that these community teams functioning with no major funding and whatever, being able to compete with the big dogs. So again, with these sports, there's a balanced skill level across the board. So all it takes really is that we homage on one particular point, bring in the North, bring in the South at one venue and fine-tune the game so that we could actually increase our ranking to be actually in the top 20, in 20s, because we have the ingredients, we have the raw talent here, right? It's just a matter of being able to manifest it into the next level.
I'd say the women's rugby program started in 2001. I was the manager of that team. Venezuela was coming here to play Trinidad and Tobago, and they decided to throw in a women's team. And so we started the program in 2001. We were beaten 75-0.
75?
75-0. After the game, we found out that the Venezuelan female sprint queen of 14 years was the winger on that team. So all they were doing is getting the ball to her, and she was running down the side, right? I don't think we ever lost a Caribbean championship after that. You know, we have dominated. And I mean, from 2001 to now, to be the 23rd ranked female team in the world, I mean, it's really a major achievement on behalf of the girls, of the women. You know, and I commend them every day.
I think that Jack wanted to comment.
And what makes us so low down on that level, because it has really take 18 months to knit a team together, and we never had that. I think the technical director now introducing that with this program now where we're going to be taking these kids from 11 to 15 and cry them through that 18 months period, so they will have a part called all skills that's be taught to all the players to carry positions, so the players will become versatile to fit in any position and things. So after, by 2020, I figure we might be able to climb the ranks in that aspect.
So for the viewers, when is the next time that we can see rugby? Are we qualified for any major tournaments? Are we sending teams on any tours? Are there local fixtures that are going to be happening that people can come and attend?
Well, the things on the table right now is that there will be 2 touring teams coming in, which will be underage in the month of March and I believe April. April will be from Curacao, a team coming from Curacao, and for March will be a team coming in from the USA, a school team. Those games we haven't penned down exactly where and timing of the games, but those will most likely be advertised in the local papers and I guess on this TV station also. Later on, the females will be taking part in the Iran Championship, 10-a-side, which will take place in Mexico between the 7th to the 14th. Those games will be streamed July, and those games will be streamed on the Iran website, which will be www.northamericarugby.com. For the men's will be taking part in the CAC games that will be in Colombia during the period of July to August.
I know that you have a school program, right? But that's a secondary school.
Yeah.
Now, secondary, what I'm trying to get here at is that you hear in sports in the bigger countries that they start sports, be it football or whatever it is, from a tender age. Is there a program where we're going to be seeing rugby going into the primary schools, where you can start at a younger age instead of the 14 years and the 15 years at the secondary schools? Mr. Jack?
You see, in school, what they could teach them is the basic fundamental, and as thing they're trying to get over a hurdle or a red tape where you can't play contact in school, so that's how they wouldn't. So if you're teaching them it in school, they cannot really play the app.
Yeah, you cannot play the actual physical game, but is there any part of it that you can introduce? So by the time they leave primary school and they get into the secondary school, they would have learned the basic. You don't have to teach them the basic now at 14, 15, and then...
Well, again, the issue with that really is manpower. So, so the resource base, ideally, really supposed to start with the primary schools, right? But the reason we start with the secondary school is that we capture them from that 11 years. So when they come over from the primary school, so we have them 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in the secondary base. So that is the reason why we would have gravitated to that particular thing. And in the ideal world, we would also love to start in the primary school, but unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to sustain that at this particular time. I would say for Tobago, though, we are introducing our YDO into Tobago for the 2018 to 2020 series, and he's actually targeting primary schools because his geographic location is more suited to attack the primary schools in Tobago rather than the secondaries, because they're in a closer network.
What about coaches? Do you have sufficient coaches, for the program that you're going to be outlining from 2018 and beyond? Do you have, and it's talking about manpower, does that manpower include coaches?
Yes.
That you will have sufficient coaches that you can go to the different communities and really, get the sport on the right footage?
For the initial pilot project here, we have 12 coaches to target those particular zones, which will break it down to 3 coaches per zone. Right? The issue we have with it again is that when we spread the game, we tend to generate or try to generate a coach from each of the communities. Right? And the reason being is that once it is we get a coach to take up the mantle or train a coach in that particular community, we could afford to take up that youth development officer and put them in another pocket. Right? Under the past program, you would have the coaches or the YDOs being tied down to that particular area, and they really can't spread as far off, so they would just maybe go across to the next community and get a couple of players from there. But in the ideal picture, I would like a coach to be developed in that community, to be the person to be there. So at the end of the day, the YDO now will move away from being the actual coach on the ground, but the administrator of that particular region. So that is the reason why, in a sense, it will spread. And it will be also a development process for the YDO. So there wouldn't be a coach for the next 20 years. They will move from coach to administrator and maybe onto the senior team as a coach or as a managerial level.
What about coaching programs? How often do you all have coaching programs to, you know, get your coaches up to that international standard?
Right, so the mandate really from the world governing body is actually to run two courses per year. Right, the present structure is that we have a lot of, well, actually we have 215 level 1 coaches in Trinidad and Tobago. Right, at the level 2 coaching we have 10. Right, and the 10 out of those coaches, 3 certified, because of the fact they're not doing the necessaries to complete the certification process. And that is some of the challenges that we're functioning with. But in the sense of the skill base and the knowledge base of the coaches, they are skilled, they are knowledgeable about what they're doing, but it's just to get them certified so they could go out on the international market and actually market themselves.
Okay. Well, we need to take another break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Viewers, remember this is Scoreboard here on ACTN, and we are discussing the sport of rugby. We'll be right back after the short break.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
But my first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
Only by not some winner.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua De Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately, hey, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh, what's that? Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Welcome back. You're watching Scoreboard on ACTN. Mr. Pantour, we've discussed previously in the show the YDO program and getting into the schools. But specifically, how does recruiting work for players that want to come and play, or even coaches, referees? How can people get involved in rugby as individuals or as a family, say, that would like to be involved in rugby?
All right, so the easiest way to say is that we're trying to open up the door, right? So we're looking for any athlete who think they have the capability of playing or representing the country at a national level, meaning that they might have been running track before and not making the cut to be in the final in the 200s and whatever. They could actually branch over into the sport. We will take up the mantle of include them into the academy and kind of fast tracking them in a training program to get them developed. Right, so I would say the easiest way is contacting us through Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Football Union. We are also on Instagram and Twitter under the same name. They could also contact us through the Rugby Union at www.ttrfu.com. There you'll be able to get all the contact information of the office, and from there they will direct you either onto me or the secretary, who will give you other information on information that you may need.
For athletes who may not be at a national level of playing, do clubs have, I don't know if it's called a festival or an open house, or times where they would be welcoming new players or prospective players to come and check out rugby at a club level?
Right, so at the club level, you'll mostly find most of the teams in the north training on the Savannah either on Tuesday and Thursday between the period of 5:30 to 7 p.m. Right, that will be an easy way to engage the conversation if you're living in the northern side of the island. If it is you're living on the southern side or central, you can either come to Gasparilla. There will be a club there called Exiles. You could go to Marble also. There's a team there called Rainbows, and there will be persons there gladly to carry you through the motion of learning the game and so on. But as I'm saying, it's not necessarily that you need to join a club. Right? You could come out, look at the game, look at the training session, and again, partake in it. And even in the spreading of the game with the wide use, you'll be noticing that activities taking place maybe in your neighborhood concerning the rugby and so on. Feel free to come across and ask a question, come across and join. Right? The coaches will be gladly to accept you into the program.
So what do the season's fixtures look like?
Right, so our season basically will be starting from early May, where we'll be having some knockout games and exhibition games, as we talked about, with the touring teams and so on. But the official Battle of the Champions would take place between June to December. The later half, from October to December, would basically be involved the 7-a-side version of the game, which is a more faster, something similar to T20, right, version of the game. Right, so it will be pretty exciting.
Are those games based in one area? Is it spread out throughout Trinidad and Tobago?
Right, so those games, if we take the format from last year, would be spread out throughout the island. So one of those fixtures would be in Port of Spain, one would be in the east at the UE University, or maybe at the Youth Training Center, YTC. The other 7-a-side tournament would be at the police barracks. There's also one at Marable at Rainbows Recreational Ground, or that may be at Manny Ramjan Stadium. And we're looking to revive a tournament also in Tobago also.
Now, in cricket, you have Test cricket, you have the 50 overs, and you have the T20, which has taken over the cricket. In the rugby, you have the 15s, you have the 10s, and you have the 7s. Which one will you say Trinidad and Tobago are the strongest in right now?
Well, for the women version of it, I would say they are stronger at the 10s than the 7s, because again, it's more or less a more fast-paced game, and the athletes are more built and suited to that. In the Caribbean, we are balanced in both the 15s and the 7s. But from my observation from the last 10 years, if we put more resources into the 7-a-side version of the game, we would reach at a higher plateau in comparison to the 15s.
Now, over the years, you all have defeated some of the top teams, USA and the Mexicos and other prominent teams. When you look at the standard of rugby on the outside in comparison with Trinidad and Tobago, how do we measure up? Where are we presently, and what is needed for the individual players or team to do to get up there, to be maybe if not equal, but close to the top rugby teams in the world?
Our major challenge in that area would be skill assessment. So those players have the natural ability, meaning that they run in sub-10, sub-11. We have some players who have the build for it, right? And the technical aspect of the game is where in some cases they lack. So because they come in through the club structure, most of the times, just as I mentioned before, they would start to play the game at an older age in comparison to somebody learning the game in England or New Zealand who've been learning it from 8 years coming forward. So that in itself is a bit challenging. I would say that if you go to give it a percentage, our local players are 60% of their true capacity, right? But if they want them at optimal, they need to put in a little more work in the sense of fitness, because fitness is a major issue when going out there to play in Mexico at the higher altitude and so on. And I would say that's basically getting into the books and getting a little more technically sound. And also, I said that has a major part to play with it, because we could give an example of it, that players leaving from South to go to Port of Spain to train, or even like you say, we have training in Manny Ramsden Stadium, players leaving from North on a Sunday to come down. Right? And when they go back home, they're going back home to an empty fridge. Yeah, and that is the reality of the society that we live in today.
Mr. Peters, when you look back at the history of the sport, today, what would you say is the biggest accomplishment in the sport of rugby for Trinidad and Tobago? And what would you say is your biggest disappointment in the sport so far?
Disappointment or accomplishment? Which one?
Accomplishment and disappointment.
The biggest accomplishment is that we were able to get people from different stratas to play the game.
Okay.
Because in the early days, rugby was an elitist sport, right? And now we have people across the board playing rugby. So that's our biggest accomplishment. The socio-economic situation would be our biggest disappointment, in that we have not been able to take care of our own. Right? I remember some years ago, and as Willett said, a player coming from San Fernando. And when he got to the Savannah and thing, you know, we were in the Savannah with him. And he telling you all he had for the day was a soda water. Right? So after training, you have to go and
get something for him.
Get something for him to eat. I think that's the biggest disappointment that we have not been able to take care of our players. You know, we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to do that. You know? And managers will tell you they spend hundreds of dollars from their pocket. We have to buy fruit, you buy water, you buy this, and you know, people see you outside there, but it's your money spent. Your children being neglected because you have to take care of your national players, and we do it willingly. You know, it's not a problem for us. I've been on the executive for 20 years, and I continue to do it. Willard do it, Jack do it, Maria do it, because we're probably in a better position, you know, but we have to take care of our players. You know, and this is the biggest disappointment.
That's why I say to people sometimes a coach is more than a coach, you know. He's a mentor, a parent, a guide, you know.
We've been discussing at our executive meets every Thursday morning at 7:30. And we've been discussing at our executive level, can we put a fund together from our pockets as the executive to take care of some of our players? Because it's necessary. You know, it's necessary.
You mentioned some committees, and I know we've spoken about players, coaching. Is it that there are opportunities for people who are not even interested in playing or coaching to come and still contribute to rugby in other positions?
Of course. We welcome anybody. Right now, as I say, I'm 20 years in the executive. I'm looking to step up. So I would be glad for somebody to come in and mentor and, you know, teach them the job. Right.
So what sort of resources and skills are required? I know, Mr. Panter, you had mentioned media, public relations. You're mentioning taking care of players. Is it possible that even parents, people who are able to come out and support the technical teams, the coaches and the managers in, say, you take turns bringing refreshments after training or something like that? Is there a program in place to encourage that kind of participation?
Well, I remember the secretary organizing something called the voluntary program, in the sense that persons could volunteer their expertise to us. So we don't have a cap to say that these are the special skills that we're looking at, but anything that you could bring to the table that would add something to the pot, we would gladly welcome it. So in the sense of marketing, for fundraising and so on, even advertisement, even in the sense of somebody doing a course in physiotherapy and they want to assist or get their contact hours with the senior team, we gladly accept them on board.
You said that you all are looking for a home for the sport of rugby. Are you still in discussions with anybody pertaining to that? And if so, what is the present situation?
Well, we're still in discussion with the Ministry of Sport. there is always promise, right? We're looking at Manny Ramjan right now. The last document we sent out, we added in a sentence at the end of the document saying that there is land east of the Taruba, the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, and we wouldn't mind getting land east of the Brian Lara Cricket Academy that we could probably develop on our own. We have a long-standing building fund. Right? I'm not sure, right now I'm not sure how much is it, but I know since I came into rugby administration 20 years ago, that fund has been there. So it's supposed to be a substantial amount. So if we can get the land east of the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, a couple of acres, 2 or 3 acres, we wouldn't mind putting some work into it.
And you all have your plan and everything.
Yeah. You know, and I'm sure that the fraternity would step up because, as I say, rugby was long time an affluent sport, right? We spread it across the board, know everybody, we play and thing and all levels. But I'm sure that the more affluent people in the sport would step in and say, all right, let's help to create this rugby academy, this rugby space. You know, so that's all we're asking. We don't have a problem now.
But we just have about 3 minutes before we wrap up. Maria, any final question you would like to throw to the guests?
As far as the teams working together, what sort of programs are put in place? What are we working towards to have continuity between the teams? I know you had mentioned before where there are certain gaps and fallout, to address that a little bit in the beginning. What sort of things do we do at a national and at a club level that helps that synergy of the community?
Well, basically, as I said before, you'd have certain elements working on the same pie, but from a different side. So basically, it's bringing everything on the forefront, so the clubs know exactly what the national program is doing. The national program know exactly what the clubs are doing. So the style of play will be transcended across the board. So it's not about the national program or the national coaches getting the information and training the national players alone at this level and expecting the national players to carry back the message to the clubs. It's about the club coaches being open to receive the same information just as the national coaches.
Any final comment?
Yeah, one thing I would like to see take place in the rugby fraternity is for we to put a good medical plan in place for the players, because that is some of the concern of the parents. And if we could get some contribution, or we seeking help to get the players insured so they could get some kind of benefits or their medical bill pays if they should pick up an injury.
Okay. Well, viewers, we hope that you did get a better knowledge, a better understanding of the sport of rugby in Trinidad and Tobago. We will be highlighting rugby a bit more here on this channel, so for the rugby supporters, you can pass that message on to your friends and your family. And we want to say a special thanks to Maria, my co-host for tonight. I'm sure that you all agree she did a wonderful job, and I am sure that you would like to see her on some more programs here on ACTN. But to my guests, Mr. Panto, Mr. Peters, and Mr. Jack, we want to say it's an honor to have you all here with us.
It's an honor for us to be here.
And we hope that, as I said, people will get a better knowledge and more support will come to the rugby union. And we hope to have you all here, and we extend an invitation anytime that you all so choose to bring any more knowledge to the people of Trinidad and Tobago concerning the sport of rugby, you can contact us.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Football Union, I'd like to thank you all for having us, and we will take up that invitation.
Thank you.